The United States faces many cybersecurity threats from foreign adversaries, including China and Russia. The FBI is trying to preserve a tool that they say helps guard against those threats. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, Section 702, gives the FBI authority to monitor communications of foreign nationals in order to prevent attacks, cyber or otherwise, in the U.S. Opponents of FISA 702 claim it opens up privacy concerns and gives the FBI too much surveillance power, including possibly over U.S. citizens. Kieran Ramsay is the FBI special agent in charge of the Portland region. He recently wrote an op-ed advocating for the renewal of FISA 702. Special Agent Ramsay, thanks for joining Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thanks so much for having me, Kim.
Well, give me an example of how the FBI would use FISA 702 authority.
Well, let's set the landscape properly, right? I mean, we can't even imagine something like this 50 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, where we have these bad actors. They could be cyber criminals, they could be adversarial nations, a host of bad actors out there that are in these deep, dark corners in cyberspace, plotting, scheming every single day. And the fact is, some of these groups, some of these nations outnumber us 50 to 1 in terms of the people that are looking to hack into our systems. And it's not just one area of our country, not just one area of our economy, it's across the board. So when we look at the tools that we have available to us, the authorities that we have available to us, FISA Section 702 is one of the most important. And it's important to understand really two things about it. One, who it's meant to target, and two, how we use it. The first being who we're supposed to target. It's meant to target foreign adversaries, people not in the U.S., that are not U.S. citizens, that do not have the benefit of Fourth Amendment protections under the U.S. Constitution. The second thing, it's meant to find those plots, literally a needle in a stack of needles, where it is so hard to find these to begin with. But if we can, and we can prevent that next attack, well, that's a huge success.
Has FISA 702 worked in the past? Can you give me an example of how it's been used effectively?
It absolutely has. So look at the Colonial Pipeline attack on the East Coast 2 years ago. The fact that we were able to identify the hackers and recover nearly $4.4 million that was paid in ransom was because of FISA 702 authority. Every day here in the state of Oregon, we use it as well. And we have instances specifically where we've been able to go to organizations here in this state to say, hey, heads up, we think you're about to be the victim of a cyber attack. Here's what you need to know to prevent it. So it is used successfully every day across the country.
Are these businesses, government agencies that are under threat? Give me a feel for that.
It runs the gamut. So let's look at what happened in Curry County in Southern Oregon just recently. That's a county government, right, that was attacked with a ransomware variant. But then you can span the gamut to a private business. And again, I'm not going to list off the businesses, but we have private companies, private sector industries here that are being targeted every day. And again, if we can go to them and say, hey, you've got to do something about your cyber defense right now because we know that they're planning to go after your entity, your organization, your company.
What about concerns that FISA 702 would be used against American citizens violating our constitutional rights or be used selectively based on politics?
You know, it's a very valid concern. I share it as well, just as an American citizen. It's a very valid criticism. And for those instances where it wasn't queried, meaning the information that we've gained through 702 authority collection, where it's not being queried properly, we are being held to account, the entire U.S. intelligence community, not just the FBI. And that's by the Department of Justice, by the courts, by Congress. But the fact is, 702 is not meant as an end run around the Fourth Amendment. We are really targeting foreign adversaries every day that, again, outnumber us on a scale of at least 50 to 1. And it is increasingly hard to hack the hackers that are out there trying to get into our systems every day.
What's the status of FISA 702 right now?
So it is due to expire at the end of this year. And it's a very fraught situation for the entire Department of Justice, the FBI, the U.S. intelligence community, to know that it is at risk for not being reauthorized whatsoever. Now, there are some really good conversations and engagement going on with the senior-most policymakers in Washington, D.C., with the Congress, and we're hopeful that, again, everybody understands what a valuable, what a vital tool this is in the fight, especially when we talk about cyber crimes.
Let's switch gears here. Harney County judge is considering right now whether Measure 114, the gun control measure, is constitutional under Oregon law. This one requires a permit, firearms training, it limits gun magazines. What's the FBI's position on Measure 114?
So we don't have a position on 114, especially from a political point of view. That's not our role at all. But the fact is, for Measure 114 to be implemented as it's written, it has to include FBI background, criminal background information that can be transmitted. One of the difficulties that we've encountered is the fact that Measure 114, to allow us to share information back to state and local authorities, it is required that Measure 114 must comport with a federal law. It's called Public Law 92-544. It was actually passed by the Congress back in 1972. It gives us the authority to provide criminal background information to state and local government agencies for licensing, for background checks, for what have you. Well, right now, as we sit here today, Measure 114 does not fully comport with that Public Law 92-544. So the Department of Justice, the FBI, is trying to work with the state so that it can meet the requirements under that law that gives us the authority to begin with to share that information back.
Did the Department of Justice or the FBI testify in the Harney County case?
No, and again, that's based on other concerns relative to Measure 114. Our only concern from a Department of Justice and FBI perspective is, does that law meet the requirements of the federal law that simply allow us to give criminal background information back to a state or local agency?
I'd like to talk about the Negasi Suberi case. He's accused of kidnapping a woman in Seattle, then allegedly putting her in handcuffs, driving her to his home in Klamath Falls, keeping her in a basement until she was able to escape. Now, the FBI thinks there may be more victims out there. Why do you think that, and what are you doing to identify those?
So our worst fear is that there are more victims out there, and unfortunately our worst fear is coming true. We've had a victim portal open for a long time now since this case came to light, and we continue to advertise it alongside our state and local partners to say, look, if you're a victim, if you knew this guy and he tried to do something horrible to you, please come forward. Unfortunately, we've had people come forward. You can see, though, that that investigation has also included now state charges down in Klamath County by the Klamath County District Attorney's Office. Our hope is that we can bring all of this to fruition. Right now, the subject is scheduled for trial in federal court in December, but our efforts are going to continue to see if there are any other victims out there so that we hold him fully accountable for what is pretty frightening conduct.
Let's go back to the protests of the summer of 2020. You were not the special agent in charge here then, but the New York Times reported that the FBI infiltrated the demonstrations with informants and undercover observers. Was that effective, and what was the fallout from that? Has anything changed because of that?
Well, a couple of things with that. Actually, I was here in the summer of 2020. I was sent out here on a temporary status to help the office and to help team law enforcement, because when we look at the full context of what happened here in Portland, you know, these huge protests around the country about this horrible murder of George Floyd, that entire national conversation was pulled here to Portland by some very admirable people for the right reasons. You know, we need to express our concerns about something's got to change. But here's the thing, in the middle of that, over 100 nights straight, what did we see? Within these thousands of people out there properly expressing their First Amendment protected activities, we had a small group in there that didn't care about anybody's First Amendment protected activities, didn't care about George Floyd or that situation. They just wanted to sow chaos. They wanted to commit violent acts. They wanted to assault police officers, and they wanted to cause significant damage to the city of Portland. So at a certain point, this became a novel crisis, right? It totally overwhelmed law enforcement in this region. It became such a strain to it even broke down the mutual aid compacts that allow local, state, and federal agencies to even work together. So at a certain point, it was, we've got to do something different, and it's really hard to identify these people. We had tried, you know, some technological solutions. We tried to stand on the outside of these crowds looking for people that were dressed in black coming out to go do bad things. None of that worked. So we took a very heightened step to try and go into the crowd to find those people specifically not expressing First Amendment protected activities, but they were specifically there to cause violence, to cause harm, to cause damage to this city.
And so you're happy with the way that that turned out in terms of you being able to identify those people?
So we were able to identify some. There are criticisms out there that we didn't identify enough. I agree with those criticisms. I wish we could have identified more. The fact is, we still here in this region, the Pacific Northwest, has unfortunately a long familiarity with anarchist violent extremists. I know the media likes to call it Antifa, as do a number of people out there. But unfortunately, we still have those people, and they'll use whatever flashpoint in society as a reason to hide within the larger group that wants to seek to express First Amendment protected speech and gathering. But again, they don't care about the issue. They care about violence and damage.
Agent Ramsay, thank you very much for joining Eye on Northwest Politics.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
We'll be right back.